Probably no better way than to describe it as a mixed bag for Zandvoort. On the one hand, well done to Alex. From that difficult P15 qualifying position, he did an absolutely outstanding opening lap of the race to put himself P10 and then pick up every opportunity that came his way from then onwards to finish P5. And he didn't put a foot wrong in the race and took every opportunity that came his way. The converse to that is Carlos, who executed really a perfect weekend up until the contact with Lawson, was then provided no points, which is just not a fair reward given his performance that he showed across that race weekend. I think the main aspects for me are that what we can clearly show is we have, since we've added car performance to the car, a car that is able to compete in the points, but it's incredibly tight, with just milliseconds separating 4 or 5 teams at any one given race weekend. And going forward, there'll be tracks that suit us or suit our rivals, and it's making sure that we take every point that comes our way at those strong tracks for us until the end of the year. Welcome to the Vowles Verdict, presented by Kraken. First question is from Andrew, which is, if we had just one more lap of the race, could we have caught Russell? And the reality behind that is there were many laps that we were following Russell, both before that safety car and afterwards as well. And whilst we had a little bit of car performance on them as they were damaged following contact with Leclerc, it wasn't sufficient for an overtake. I think it's sufficient to very much stay in there, stay on DRS, but it would have been a high-risk maneuver to even get alongside or otherwise. So I'm afraid it's not just one more lap that we needed, but a little bit more. Next question is from Edith, and it is our most asked question for good reason, which is, why did Carlos get that 10-second penalty after he had contact with Lawson? And it's a really good question. It's one that really caught me off guard in the race. And you can see subsequently, Carlos and I chatted about it, and Carlos then went up to see the stewards to have a discussion over what had happened, why they had interpreted it that way, and more importantly, what does the future look like? Because for us, we weren't outside the boundaries of racing. My review of the incident, both now and even live during the race, was the following. It was a racing incident. I don't think either one deserved a penalty. Carlos wasn't trying to overtake at that point. He was trying to put his car alongside to put essentially Lawson on a compromised line to create opportunity later on. With Lawson himself, you can see him looking in his mirrors, and as he does so, effectively gets a snap in the car. So he laterally moves across the track into Carlos, not because he's intentioning to drive into him, but because for a brief moment he lost control of the car, I think due to the wake of the Ferrari ahead. But that isn't Carlos's fault in that circumstance, particularly. Now, what the stewards had deemed, I believe, is that under the racing guidelines and rules, the car on the inside, the car ahead, has the priority of the corner and can wash out wide. That's fine. I think that's different to the situation where a car effectively had a snap and moved across laterally in an unpredictable manner. Antonio asked a good question, which is, how did we help Alex after a difficult qualifying for him to bounce back in the race? I think first and foremost, you need to be aware that both Alex and Carlos are incredible professionals, and much of what we're doing is creating a support structure around them, but they do the heavy lift themselves. They're the ones that bring themselves into a good state of mind, and Alex, as he walked into the paddock on Sunday morning, was absolutely clear in his mind on what to do. Even more so, we were discussing openly about how do we use two cars to potentially, in different circumstances in the race, work with each other and benefit the team. And in that circumstance, we are fortunate to have two teammates that are absolutely focused on what is the right event for everyone. In terms of Alex, the focus was this. There are weather conditions coming in and out during the course of the race. There were opportunities around the pit stop. There are opportunities of the fact it's a very marginal one stop for some cars. And there's opportunities that we know were out of position. We had a quick race car based on Friday. And you really start working with all those details to allow him to understand how to maximize each one of those that comes towards him. One area he clearly focused on, and you could see it very well, was the start of the race, his initial launch, and also into the positioning to turn one. And well done to the team and himself for executing really perfectly every circumstance there. He had a lot of grip at the beginning of the race and used that to good avail to put himself up into that really strong P10 position. Thank you, Michaela, for this question, which is, how and when do you inform the drivers and decide to inform the drivers about the rain? Good question. I think what needs to happen with any human being in the world, but especially with elite athletes, is you can't be caught by surprise. So you need to bring everyone on the journey with the right amount of communication that leads them there. And what Alex and Carlos need really is almost conveying, but in a few short words, what we can see on a radar screen. And that really boils down to, how long is the rain going to be? When will it hit from? Where will it hit from? And how intense will it be at that point in time, and how many minutes until it happens? So time until it happens, how intense it is, and what it means for them, i.e. is it a long time or just one lap? And it allows them to understand that whilst in that circumstance they're part of the decision-making process and we will have more information, it gets their brain thinking about it for a few laps in advance. So example communications here would be around about 20 minutes beforehand, we gave them an indication and warning that we can see this, probability of hitting is quite high, looks like it's light, however. Then as we went through the race, we just gave them just updates on time. So it's going to be in 8 laps time. We think it will last 8 laps, but light. And that allows them to understand our thinking, which is more than likely you're staying out on these tyres. It's going to be a bit tricky for you, but it's light rain. As the rain shower got closer and closer, it broke up on the radar. And again, the communication now to the drivers were, you're going to have drops at times. So they know it's even gone lighter than that light status, and for them, it shouldn't really impact them. Now, you don't want to overwhelm them with communication, but as you can probably tell from that, once every few laps with a little bit of warning as it comes in and a little bit more closer communication right just before the event is the key to it all. It's a great question, Anthony, which is, given the improvements we've made across the break, given the performance that we've shown in Zandvoort, is a podium on the cards this year? I'll answer it in the way I've been answering it all the way through. Our podiums, perhaps there could be one that comes through fortune or others retiring. A podium for me is one that you earn through base car performance by you really qualifying top 3 and racing top 3, and we're not there today. That's not where we are in terms of the field. There are some very fast teams still in front of us. But it doesn't preclude a fortune coming our way potentially this year. But what I'm more interested in is our Williams being in charge of its own destiny, building a car that is able to fight for podiums on merit, and doing so consistently, therefore, as the result of it. So it's not quite the answer you're looking for. Perhaps there'll be fortune that falls our way. But what I'm really interested in is our future journey that leads us there anyway.